So I've done this myself. I was doing a YouTube live stream a little bit ago today talking about the Cardinals trade. The Cardinals did not trade, Andy, Tommy Edman for Tommy Edman. They did get Tommy Pham back, though, in the deal, which is
Did
exciting.
I say Tommy Edman just now?
Yeah, I did the exact same thing like 2 hours ago.
Tommy for Tommy. Tommy for Tommy.
I said too many Tommies in this trade. But how much did we spend talking about Tommy Pham as a potential fit for, well, the Royals, I think we thought for sure, Randy.
Yeah, the Royals, I think, probably could have really used Tommy Pham.
But trading Edman actually makes Pham all that more important to the Cardinals because he has an 848 OPS against lefties this year, which is the biggest glaring weakness of the Cardinal lineup. They're 29th in OPS across the MLB against left-handed pitching this season. And Tommy Pham slides in, and he can play center field. So if you're going to let Tommy Edman go, look, we all love Tommy Edman. I think that's going to be a tough guy to see leave that Cardinal clubhouse today. But I think Tommy Pham is a really nice fit, and he brings that edge, too. He brings that edge to a Cardinal clubhouse that, hey, if anybody's feeling a little complacent in there, not anymore, you're not, because Tommy Pham is back.
Can I start with what I don't like about this trade? Can I start with that?
Yes.
Here's what I don't like about this trade. Every trade period, this happens every single year, and the Cardinals fan base is not the only fan base that does this. It's everyone. But it seems that everybody's best idea from the fans' perspective most of the time is just trade away all of the bad or useless players and only get good players back. That's what they should do every single year.
Right.
And that's usually not how that works. You've got to give up something that's actually valuable to you to get something of value back from another team. That's how it usually works in trades. And so we don't see a whole... But today... when you talk about a player that has not been worth anything to you this season, at least, in Tommy Edman, he goes away.
Good clarification. This season, Edman hasn't played.
This season, he has not done anything for the Cardinals.
We like Tommy Edman.
We like Tommy Edman.
I'm not dancing on the grave, and you know why, too? He's going to the Dodgers, dude. Yeah. If anybody's got a chance to win a World Series this year, it's him. So
that's going to be a good chance for him, right?
From a personal perspective and from a Cardinals perspective, he was an important guy on this team for a while. This year did not go well. We basically just had to keep him out of sight, out of mind, because he didn't know how many setbacks it was going to be before he could make his way back. And now that's no longer in the thought process. You've traded in that, which had turned into a bit of a headache for the Cardinals. As much as you like Tommy, that's probably accurate.
Yeah.
To get an Pham-Fedde, who is not the best pitcher in Major League Baseball history, but he's solid and he's cost-controlled for next year. And you fill the void that you had wished Tommy Edman would be filling on this roster all season long with Tommy Pham. And somebody that can bring an edge to a clubhouse that I think could benefit from it. Andy, I love this trade.
Yeah, that's the point. Is that
top to bottom?
I don't know how, as a Cardinals fan, you can't like this trade.
Here's the way. Here's a couple ways. One, you're a bitter person who feels like you have some vendetta against Tommy Pham. You don't like his personality. That would be a way, but I don't subscribe to that. I've basically been pounding the table for Tommy Pham for the better part of 6 weeks, and I said always with the caveat, Andy, I don't know if the Cardinals would do it again. But John Mozeliak, let bygones be bygones. If there was any friction there between Pham and the org, and look, back at recently as spring training, he was pounding the table to be a Cardinal. Tommy Pham wanted to come back, and the Cardinals said no thanks. Obviously ended up with the White Sox, and here we are. But the fact that John Mozeliak said, nope, I can recognize that Tommy Pham is something that our team could use right now, I give John Mozeliak a ton of credit for doing this move. And that's a part of it that, like, if there's anything personal, maybe I'm making too much of that, Andy, from the past. But I didn't know. I really didn't know. Would the Cardinals front office welcome back Tommy Pham? I didn't know. And the fact that the answer to that ends up being yes, great. Here's the other way, though, the legitimate way that people could end up being upset about this trade.
Yeah.
It was originally reported the full deal only included one player going from the Cardinals, Tommy Edman. Technically, now that the trade has been announced, officially that's not true. Oliver Gonzalez is a 17-year-old pitching prospect with a 4.22 ERA in the Dominican Summer League Cardinals. He's a teenage prospect, and he goes to the Dodgers of all teams. Like, why do you have to go to couldn't he have gone to the White Sox? If the White Sox had wanted this kid, I'd be like, he probably stinks. The Dodgers targeted him specifically. Why? I need to know why.
Look,
that would be the one way that this deal, obviously I'm being somewhat facetious.
Well,
he'll win the Cy Young, but it'll be a decade from now.
Yeah, it won't be until like 2030 at least. You don't have to think about that right now.
Guys, I hope he becomes the greatest pitcher in Major League history, because how funny would that be? But that's the only thing that you might have any angst about, and it was announced at the bitter end of this process that's been ongoing all day. I think it's a great trade where the Cardinals got needs fulfilled without, as you mentioned, giving up anything from their active roster and not also giving up any prospects outside of the 17-year-old that nobody had heard of before today, let's be honest.
And they're going to get a player to be named later and cash, too.
And they're getting cash from both teams, if not the PT
if not
named later.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable. It's a great trade.
It's a great trade. And that's why I don't like it. It's because Cardinal fans are going to look at this trade and say, why can't we do this trade all of the time? Trade our bad players or worthless players and only get good ones back. It happened here. Why can't it happen all the time?
I'll clean that up. Players not helping you.
Right,
I like Tommy Edman.
I do
don't
too.
want to dance on the grave.
No, I don't.
You did call him bad and worthless.
Well, but that's what fans do. They call out the bad players. Like everyone wants Dylan Carlson gone because he's been bad this year, and so there's.
I can't push back on that one. Right, if we're going to call him bad,
but I mean other players that they trade Gallegos for Eric Fedde. It'll work just fine.
Hey, but you know what? It also works in reverse. This morning, Mark DeRosa thought maybe they should trade Jordan Walker for Eric Fedde. And I said, Mark DeRosa, the brainworms have infiltrated, my friends. That's not happening.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen. But, wow. I mean, there's a lot of thoughts going through the mind. Here's what this sets up, though, Andy, because the deadline has not gotten here yet. Cardinals still have 24 hours and 48 minutes to work other moves, and I would like to think bullpen could be on the docket. There's still some names that haven't moved. And I also think Dylan Carlson does get traded before the deadline. That seems to be a pretty strong likelihood. We'll see. I don't think they've had to announce the 26-man roster move for the players at this point because I don't think they're in St. Louis. I don't think they're here yet. The 40-man roster move is Raposo. I do know that. He's been DFA'd.
Right.
Backup catcher. But I don't know that because, there's no room for Carlson on this bench when Tommy Pham takes that spot. And there have been quotes that have been shared today by John Denton of MLB.com from Carlson basically acknowledging that, hey, a fresh start would actually, I get it. I understand, and it'd be nice maybe to have a chance. He's being very professional about it, but let's be honest. If you're Dylan, you're like the lady on the hood of Adam Sandler's car in Billy Madison, or is it Happy Gilmore? They're like the same movie, where she's going, "Get me out of here." That's what this is. It was Happy Gilmore.
Okay,
that's what it feels like Dylan Carlson should be doing today. Get him somewhere where he can play. John Denton reporting 3 teams interested in Dylan. The Guardians, which is interesting because they're contending. So if you do it with them, you're not probably getting a piece back that you can use. It's probably a prospect, something like that. Or just maybe a nothing, right? If it ends up being the other 2 teams, the Nationals or Angels, you could potentially get a reliever from either of their bullpens. And I'll throw out a name. I would add pitching prospects to maybe try and take a flyer on Reed Detmers, who is a starter for the Angels, who is cost-controlled but has really struggled this year, both in the big leagues and in AAA. But that's a guy from the Angels. You wouldn't maybe trade, pick a middling pitching prospect plus Carlson for Reed Detmers and a Luis Garcia. Remember him from the Cardinals a few years ago? He's in that bullpen right now doing work with a low sub. It's like 3.79 ERA. Has been really good of late. So those types of moves I think are still on the table for the Cardinals to be made. And the beauty of all of this is that they didn't give up prospects. Yes, Oliver Gonzalez. They didn't give up prospects that we knew about to be able to facilitate this deal for Fedde and Pham. Now, it still exists the possibility that they could get aggressive and make more moves to improve the team. I think that's another reason this is a very good move by the Cardinals today.
875-KTGR, tell us your thoughts on the Cardinals trade, a 3-team deal between the Cards, the White Sox, and the Dodgers. The Cardinals get Tommy Pham back. They also get Eric Fedde, a solid pitcher from the White Sox rotation, and Tommy Edman is going to L.A. as a result. He'll be a Los Angeles Dodger soon once he gets back healthy, and so we'll see what the Cardinals will end up getting out of those 2 guys. Very clearly, I like the fact that Pham joins this team. Again, we talked all the last few weeks or so about how much the Cardinals need a spark in the line. It doesn't need to be a huge booming bat by any means, but the production they have against lefties by and large, and especially in the outfield spot, particularly in center field, it's just lacking. And I mean, nothing against Michael Ciani right now, and some of it's the fact that Ciani's a lefty, so it's harder for him naturally to hit against lefties most of the time. Yeah. And so so you need somebody to platoon with him, or have an offensive guy to start out with. Then if you get later in a game, especially come playoff time, you use him for defensive purposes later in the game. Like, it sets you up so your bench becomes a lot more malleable, a lot more just flexible and
useful.
Useful. I mean, that's the word.
Ollie Marmol's got to be doing backflips today.
Yeah.
Not because he didn't like Tommy Edman, but because now you understand what a manager with some managerial chops like he has can do late in games with a bench that has some pieces on it. And there's still some, a clog. You do have Brandon Crawford and Carpenter kind of filling the same role. They're lefties who don't really hit very much. One of them's got to play shortstop. The other one doesn't have a position. That's, it is what it is. But to add Tommy Pham to this mix allows you to basically say anytime you're in a close game, if you're down by a run late and it was Michael Ciani who started the game, well, you can have Tommy Pham take that at-bat against a lefty late in the game, or just the at-bat in general, and potentially add a boost that way. If you're up by a run or two late in games, on the days that Tommy Pham started in center field, Ciani can come in for defense. Ciani can pinch run. I mean, Pham can run as well. There's utility now for that role on the bench. And it is, I think, going to become the role that Dylan Carlson had been in. So that's kind of the other part of this. You trade a player that wasn't on your active roster. You're picking up guys that now are. Who goes? That's still something that's unforeseen. John Mozeliak, I think, is talking right now at Busch Stadium, so we may get some insight on that today. We may not until the guys are, in town and ready to contribute on the actual active roster. But I still think this was the kind of move that you make because it's in the margins of the roster. You improve, you gain starting pitching control for next year over Eric Fedde, which John Mozeliak had to go out this past offseason and get 3 starters like in a flash.
Yeah,
and that's tough to do on the fly. He managed it, and now the Cardinals are in the mix. This is going to lighten the load a little bit for this upcoming offseason if Fedde can be what he's been with the White Sox to say, I don't care if he's your 1, 2, 3, 4, or your 5. He's in your rotation, and he's $7.5 million. So the Cardinals actually saved money on this deal and got money sent to them. Props. I think John Mozeliak knocked it out of the park.
875-KTGR. Call or text us here with your thoughts on the Cardinals trade today. Let's go to the KTGR hotline now. Hello, who's this?
This is Bossman.
Bossman, you're on the big show. What you got?
Hey, I think I love this trade, by the way. Mo finally knows what the hell he's doing. He did something good for once. I think the only thing that I wonder about, though, is they keep talking about how Pham is going to be a rental. Do you think he's going to re-sign after this year, or do you think that's true that he's just going to be a rental for that one thing? And if so, did you also say there's a player to be named later that the Cardinals are supposed to get?
So, appreciate the call, boss, man. Thank you, boss. The full thing that the Cardinals are getting is Tommy Pham, Eric Fedde. That's from the White Sox. They get cash from the White Sox for sure. I think that's it for sure on there. And then the player to be named later is from the Dodgers. It could be cash if they don't want to send a player, as I understand. Yeah, so
that's right.
That's everything the Cardinals get. They could re-sign Pham if they wanted to. The thing is, he's 36. That's going to be a question that comes up. It's he's going to be a free agent. He's going to talk to other teams too. He's going to find the best spot for 2025, and that might not necessarily be the Cardinals, or the Cardinals might not necessarily think that he is the best player to fill their needs for 2025. This is a win now move. We don't know. Pham is on this team to help them today, and 2025 will figure itself out.
And here's the thing. You traded, this is very similar to the deal from two years ago, almost to the day, where the Cardinals sent Harrison Bader to the Yankees for Jordan Montgomery. You get a outfielder who at the time was on the IL with Bader, sent away a guy who has one more year of team control left, as Bader did at the time, for a starting pitcher that comes in with 1 year of team control remaining next year. That's Fedde. So that's how you improve for 2025. You got something guaranteed for that year, in so much as a guy can be a guarantee. He could always get hurt. We understand that. That's a gain in that spot of it. Now, my one concern, if you had done the Edman for Fedde deal, is, Well, they really could use what Edman brings if he can get back healthy. They need a guy who can play outfield, play center specifically, maybe hit right-handed and thump lefties. That's kind of what Edman does when healthy. They bring Tommy Pham in to do exactly those things for the next 2 months. That worry about the hole in the fourth outfielder position on your roster in January. Like for next year, that's next year.
Fine.
But you filled the role that Edman was going to be able to conceivably fill in 2 weeks from now, and you're filling it 2 weeks earlier with Tommy Pham that comes in. So think of it as the Bader for Montgomery trade with a bonus of the thing you gave away. You basically brought in a rental version of that player who's actually healthy. It's a great trade as I look at it today. I just don't see the downside of it.
And I kept waiting, throughout the afternoon. So Edman's all they gave up. That's it. That's all it was.
Like, where's Ivan Herrera in this trade?
Right, exactly.
Right?
I didn't know what of value the Cardinals. The other thing that the Cardinals were giving up of value in this trade. Turns out, they gave up 2032 Cy Young Award winner Oliver Gonzalez, but
and that's fine.
Fine, whatever. That'll be fine later on.
Guy's 17 years old. You can't possibly know today. Exactly. The Dodgers can. They clearly had a reason. Right. To do this deal.
He'll be Walker Buehler before they know it there, but
that's
whatever.
Fine. That's fine.
Fine. 875-KTGR if you want to call or text us here on the show to talk about that trade. Again, when we evaluate trades in the moment, I'd say by that scale, it's at least an A. It could change, but depending on how these guys work out, if Fedde, keeps up his level of play, then that'll obviously help. If Tommy Pham, but there's a whole lot of scenarios that could change that.
I feel like Brian Windhorst right now, holding my fingers up. Like, here's what you don't know about the Utah Jazz.
All right, yeah.
I'm reading some tweets from Jeff Jones of the Belleville News Democrat because he's there at Busch. Ollie Marmol talked this afternoon. John Mozeliak could still be speaking now. I believe he's probably wrapped up. Otherwise, why would Jeff be tweeting? Here's one tweet, and then I'll read the other one. Tommy Pham will join the Cardinals here tomorrow in St. Louis and be activated. So they've got overnight to figure out Dylan Carlson, is what that means to me. Eric Fedde will meet the team in Chicago on Thursday, maximum 72 hours to report. So that's within the window. He's probably already there, and the Cardinals play the Cubs. I guess I should wait to see where the White Sox are right now, but he can fly back to Chicago if they're not at home and get himself settled. He's just going to have to go up to Wrigley. That's where the Cardinals are going to be on Thursday, and will some point at the weekend at Wrigley actually pitch, because he pitched 2 days ago. Yeah. So Fedde will be locked in here shortly. Here's the thing on Pham. Marmol said multiple players have come to him in the past few weeks requesting Tommy Pham by name as an addition to this team. Clubhouse, he says, is fired up to have him. I feel bad because anybody requesting that knows what it means for Dylan Carlson. You have to know, but that's not their problem. They understand that it's not that Dylan's a downside guy, nobody likes him. It's that Tommy Pham brings something specifically, and they're not the GM, so they don't have to work out what the downturn effects is of, who has to go to welcome Tommy Pham back in. But I guarantee you, Matt Carpenter is one of those people. He already spoke this afternoon at Busch and said Tommy Pham is the kind of guy you want on your team. This is the rusty nail guy with an edge addition that teams sometimes like to target at the deadline. I almost think the Pham edition is as big as the Cardinals for 2024 as the Fedde one. Because when you look at the rotation, Cardinals didn't have a glaring need right now in this moment for a fifth starter. We talked about this.
Yeah.
Palante's been their best starter since late May. ERA-wise, he's tops. Over Sonny, over Gibby, over all of them. Is he going to be the guy that goes through the bullpen? Maybe. We'll see. I think he's actually starting tonight, so we'll, kind of bake that in. But that'll have to be figured out for the now. But Tommy Pham actually fills an exact need that they needed. And I think he does that not only on the field, but in the clubhouse. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a really good vibe, at least from the initial reaction from the Cardinals clubhouse. 875-KTGR to call or text us quickly here on the KTGR hotline. Hello, who's this?
Hey, this is Boss Man. I didn't get to ask my other question.
Yeah, what's up?
Do you think that if Pham doesn't sign, I heard a lot of talk about, of course it's on the rumor mill, about what you were talking about earlier about Bader, and possibly having a reunion with him. Do you think that in the off season maybe that's something that they will look toward? Is Bader something that would help? Do you think?
Possibly. Appreciate the call, Boss Man, here on the Big Show. It's
Yeah, I don't think that's like high on the radar right now, but I understand the question. You know, people like former Cardinals coming back. You know, I just don't necessarily think like Bader's right now, right? He's on the Mets and playing okay. Got similar numbers to Tommy Pham overall, but you know, the Mets are in contention right now. So yeah, it is what it is on that front. I think having Pham right now is
why you're getting Pham on your team. He's here now, and that's what matters.
Doesn't matter that he's not signed for next year, and they're not thinking about Harrison Bader right now.